to mimic ghost notes with synthesizers. Is that a thing? I guess it's today. That's today's video. Let's do it right now. Hey, what's up? I'm in Little Kitchen and thank you for checking out yet another video. Now, if this is your first time here, don't hesitate to click subscribe, hit that notification bell because you'll be in the loop whenever I upload a new video. I like to welcome Slim Pickens and Trovarsi as my new patrons, which you can find on patreon.com/analogkitchen. Hey, I'm building a mixer. I've even made a mock-up already of the way it's going to look. It's going to be amazing. I can't really tell you exactly what it is going to be because we simply don't know yet. So the design might vary, but I do believe, as I say weekly, there is a gap in between a club mixer and a studio mixer. I do believe that for us DAWless live musicians, there is a gap in terms of where the sound is, and I do think that we can close that gap a little bit. So I'm thinking of what do I like about a club mixer and what do I like about a studio mixer? How can I combine those two things together that it sounds well and that it looks kick-ass, as well as upping the ante when it comes to making content for you guys. And thank you very much, all you new subscribers out there. Oh my God, it's going in the right direction. We're going up anyway!
To infinity and beyond!
As well, if you enlist on the higher tiers on Patreon, you immediately get access to my Discord page, and that's going through the roof. A lot of like-minded people, we're all talking about synths and nerdy stuff. It's really cool. Everybody's out there helping each other, so that is amazing. So thanks for that. You can find it on patreon.com/analogkitchen. Links to all the equipment is noted in the fold below. So if you see the page and it says show more, click on it, the page will open and then you'll see affiliate links to all the equipment that I am using. As well as the music, you can find that on bandcamp.com. So not all the time, but most of the time, when I think a jam turns out pretty well on the videos that I'm doing, I will chop it up in a audible sort of version and I'll place that on Bandcamp. So be sure to keep an eye out on that as well. Ghost notes are easier to explain when you play something like bass, guitar. You can even play them on piano, or I will play them on a drum kit and I will explain to you what it is that I did, and then we'll get into how we can actually get that to go on our synthesizers. So you heard me play and that little sort of like triplet or the double notes that I'm playing on the hi-hat. Those are actually ghost notes. They're not that audible, but they do make a ton of difference when it comes to groove. Easily played on a guitar. So when you do a wah-wah or you play bass, all those little in-between notes, they're called ghost notes. And they're a strong addition if you want to make a groove. Now, when you use a sequencer, obviously, most of the times, all the notes are being emphasized on 127 value when it comes to velocity. But there is a way how you can actually place your notes strategically so that you don't really hear that the note is not playing. It hints that the note is there, so it's a suggestion. So instead of ghost notes, you might even call it suggestive notes. How can you do that on a synthesizer? Because especially when you're playing DAWless, you're not actually going to go in and go velocity heavy on what you're doing. I mean, at least not me. If I'm really going for my sound, I love my sound to be very audible. So instead of going in velocity wise, I think it's even better for me to just like making sure that notes don't play in a certain spot and how to pinpoint those spots where you can actually have an emphasis on your groove without playing notes. So the gap in between the notes here, that is where the suggestion of the ghost note is, if that makes any sense. So is there room in between notes? Yes. Most of the groove and most of the emphasis is laid out in stuff that doesn't play. in conjunction to stuff that is playing. I know it doesn't really make sense the way I say it this way, but bear with me. And that's what groove is. You know, the groove of any kind of musician is determined on notes that he's not playing, the distance in between notes that are being played. If somebody drums and I will play the same drum pattern as somebody else, or somebody plays a guitar or whatever, the way the timing is laid out is different from person to person, obviously. So that means that that makes up some sort of a groove. Now, the better you get at it, the tighter you're starting to play, or the tighter you play, if you don't quantize everything bang on the grid, that will actually make up your signature groove. And that signature groove is going to consist of playing notes and playing ghost notes, or pauses in between those notes. Now, to do that on a DAWless system, it requires you to not smear the whole pattern full of notes. So can we dilute or take out notes in certain positions within that groove in order for your groove to stand out? And how can you find your signature groove so that it will actually work to your advantage, in a way that when people hear your groove, instantly they think, I need to dance to this, I need to get into this vibe, this person is really getting me into a certain way. And it's hard. Now, the TB-03 is a machine that invokes ghost notes already. Because where a bass player plays inaudible notes or muted notes that will act as ghost notes, you can actually just lower the filter on the TB-03, play low notes that they are playing, but you won't hear them as much as because the filter is just turned down way too low. So that frequency cutoff is, you know, it's there, but you won't hear it. You'll feel it though, standing next to the woofer. Oh, you'll hear it. Now, this is something that's easy to do on a TB-03, but can you do it with something else? I've done a video on how you actually make a bass line with different synthesizers, how to make one bass line with different synths. I just told you. I will link in the description below, because there are a few comparisons when you do that, because those different synthesizers have different frequencies, so obviously they will be inaudible in certain parts. So certain notes are very pronunciated and other notes are not, or the synths are not. Now we're going to do it with one synthesizer and placing notes strategically to mimic ghost notes. And we're going to do that with, I don't know yet what synthesizer, but we're going to get into that, and we're going to do that now. Let's head over to the live set and let's make it work, shall we?
All right, so we're going. Yo, all right, guys. Okay, back in the house. Now, listen. I've got the Minilog XD wired up to the MPC Live. The MPC Live is wired up to the Octatrack. Those two work together. I've got the Mini Tower, the Model D. I've got the Day-Split Tetra, and the multi-clock is sending out clock signals to the Akai, who is slaving the Octatrack then. The MIDI is being recorded into the MPC Live, except for the TB-03. That's got its own sequencer, basically. Plays. Nice one. Plays that. Yeah, and I've got Minilog XD. This is a bass line that I've made mimicking the Everything Counts bass line by Depeche Mode. So for today's example, we're going to actually use a percussive short kind of bass note in order to see if we can mimic certain bass lines. Yeah, so this is the groove. You can hear that there's a bit of a wailing cow in the beginning of the groove. That's my ear candy. Wow. Just giving you a bit of an atmosphere. 2, 3, and there you go. Now there's a sample that I have chopped up that's playing on the Octatrack that will give a sense of where the music is going. And I play something like this. And what I've also done is I've put a bit of effect on the crossfader so that it starts to electric boogie a little bit when I wield it. And then that bass line plays this. So you can play something. something simple, yeah? So just, let me turn that off. You can play a simple bass line, and then it will just definitely just go in a certain direction. If you put note repeat on with shift, note repeat. I don't know where it stops. Put a little bit of resonance on there. And that works. Listen. But the thing with this is what we want our bass line to be a little bit like funkier. So this is if you're going straight in later in the night, then that will be a cool bass line. Let me turn that off. But listen to what's happening if I'm going to like alter the notes. So on the first of the bar where the kicks are playing, I'm trying to avoid playing a note. So instead of 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to alter. That gives a sense of. Now, if you lower the filter on this note, it will get the same or a similar attack as the bass drum, which means that your brain is picking up on that transient of that bass note as if the bass drum would fill in the gap for that bass note. So that is a trick that I do. So I lower my filter. And then I start hitting those notes off beat. So instead of rest. Let's record that. Yeah, let's see if it works. Rest. 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 All right. See, I've re-recorded it because it sounds crazy, but let's see, where are we? No, of course not, because you need to record it. Putting this on. Record it straight in. Now we're going to blend this thing into the groove. So it's a bit of a percussive vibe going on. I put a little bit more resonance on it and maybe open the filter cutoff a little bit. Shorten the notes a little bit more. And open the attack a little bit so that it doesn't really start directly. And then and this will start to make sense if more drums get introduced. More drums. And to make stuff a little bit spacier, let's add a bit of effect on there. Delay in this case. Nice one. Add a clap, 2, 3, and. Yeah, this is going. I'm liking this. Turn off the right. Nice. Okay, now there's a lot of stuff playing at the same time. I don't want that, so what I'm going to do is take out the notes that are playing here, which is my Model D. I see double notes even. I forgot to take them out. Okay, right, so now usually I'll play my long notes with the Model D, as you know, but for now, since we've got this cool new addition to the live set, let's see if we can give another roll to the Model D. So we have this. Let's play it from the multi-clock. Yeah. Like it. Record it. Nice. When I turn this off, see how those two are having a boogie behind the dumpster. Now I want to up the notes a little bit because I think that the Model D is playing too low, so I will shorten the notes. I do the same thing as I did to the mini log. And add a bit of. There you go. Make this a little bit more aggressive. Right cymbal, 2, 3, and. Nice. And maybe to detune an oscillator a little bit as well. So it gets a little bit more gritty. I can do the same to my friend over here, Mini Look. Get a bit of cross mod going. Play that gimmick again on the octave track. Now what it is that I'm actually doing, I'm trying to just like space my notes apart. So this is playing something, obviously it's playing this. And I really like the fact that it's got a bit of a almost disco-y vibe to it. If I don't want it to be that clear to hear, what I can do is just turn it down a little bit. But mind you though, I don't know whether you noticed it, but if you turn down your oscillators a little bit too far, you will always hear that they start to sound like they're a little bit out of tune, you know what I mean? So make sure that it doesn't start to sound like irritating. Now, this bass line needs to stay in a specific spot because it's the foundation of my groove. And I'm trying to work the notes in certain lengths that they actually work together with the drums, as I told you. This ride is getting on my nerves now. So obviously in my drums and in my drum selection, I'm looking for sounds that are round, that have enough transients so that other musical sounds will complement what's going on. So within that same frequency spectrum, I'm trying to just like pinpoint where's this kick going. So the kick is here. Let me mute this. Let's turn off the delay. Let me dry it up because there was a bit of a reverb on there as well. Now let's really focus on the sound for a second. There you go. I'm really just like on the second oscillator looking for the attack so that it... Then I'm going to start working the filter so that it's almost a cross between a percussive sound and a melodic sound. So not as drummy as a tom, but a little bit more towards that direction. It's almost if you pitch down a tom. Now this has got some of the fabric that the kick also has in terms of the attack. And then obviously you can tune your kick to the right key. For today's example, I didn't actually do that, but you'll hear that they sound like family now. They sound like they live in up the same street. Now let's see if we can even get this thing going. Nice. What I've also done, I stick white noise on there. Listen. You can even start like this. So this is round, it needs to stay round, it needs to just stay where it is. I will not go past maybe 11 o'clock with the filter, because then all of a sudden, hey, he's got a synthesizer, let's flaunt it. Let's not do it. Let's stick it in a certain way and just keep it there. So that if you level it well, it will get buried in your groove and gives a sense that it's there, helping the groove to go forward without being too predominantly in your face. Okay, back to those oscillators. Higher oscillators obviously will sound louder. So I will keep the white noise in mind. I'll turn up that oscillator a little bit. Middle oscillator now. That's even higher. So without it sounding too plasticky, turn that down also, and then the low one. Nice one. Now the white noise might be a little bit too loud, as you can hear, so let me turn that down. But it helps the attack of this sound as well. So again, all those different percussive elements are starting to suggest the little spaces within the groove where no notes are playing or where there's gaps, so you can get a little bit of that bouncy groove going. Turn it down a little bit. Filter. Let's turn this up again. Slowly fade in the drums. Slowly, you're building the whole groove. Nice one. I've got a little bit of reverb on the crossfader here, so I don't open it all the way, except if I want to make a big impact, but for now, a little bit is enough. And stick the gimmick back on. Yeah, I'm liking this. Then I can play something live as well. Now the thing what I like to do is to throw you off a little bit so that you don't know where the notes are coming from. Is it going from one direction? Is it going from a different direction? So try it out, see if it works for you. And keep in mind that you can look at the frequency spectrum going all the way from low up to high. Where do you want to place your notes? It's something that you need to keep in mind, especially if you're doing this and there's no graphic equalizers involved. Obviously, train your ears to know, like, okay, the bass drum lives within, say, maybe 30 hertz until 110 hertz. Then the bass line, the lowest one, maybe has a little bit more energy, around 80, 60, you know, that's a really subby one, maybe even deeper, but just pinpoint where the sweet spots of the frequencies are so you can easily get to them fast, so you know where to tweak it. So once you memorize what the filters are doing, and every synthesizer, each different character of the boxes that you're using has got a sweet spot where the filter really works. It means, of course, obviously going from low to high with your cutoff frequency will sweep the filter, but there's always one spot where you say, like, yeah, that's where most of the energy is living, that's where most of the stuff is. That's the way it works. Obviously with modern type synthesizers you might not really pick up on it as much, but back in the day when we used Moogs and Korgs and everything, you just bought it for the filter and for the way the cutoff frequency worked. And it took me a while to just get into that vibe. But after a while I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Now with the Minilog XD, this is a really nice synthesizer that I recently got. If you follow this channel, you know all about it. I'm not a master on it as well, but I can get to what I want to make pretty fast because it's very intuitive. That means that also this filter, it's not speaking to me yet because different sounds do different things, but it's a very promising machine. I still need a little bit more boogie behind the dumpster with it, which is a saying that I say often. Yeah, what else? I think that's that for today. Try and focus on where you place your notes. A thing, if you got problems with figuring out where your groove works, stick something on the second beat after the kick. So instead of the pum 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 pum, if that's your groove, then that's your groove. But if you want to make a prolonged sort of like groove that is hypnotizing and doesn't really bore people, and it is not too obvious where it's coming from, I always play. I'm trying to envision a bass, just like a guy with a bass guitar just going crazy on the. So it's something you know. And also what you can do is listen to a lot of disco or hip hop records and figure out how they work their bass sound, because if it works on that kind of sound, it might actually work on your analog gear as well. Now this is a brief explanation of how I get to mimicking ghost notes, or at least giving suggestions of stuff there is. So the thing you can take away from it as well is, like, it's not always what is played. Most of the times it's what's not being played where emphasis in your groove can be.
It's almost like Scooby-Doo and those ghost notes, isn't it? Well, thanks. That is actually the way I do it. Let me know in the comment section the way you use ghost notes, if any, and don't be a stranger. Thanks for viewing this. Subscribe if you have not done so already. Thank you also if you want to support me on patreon.com/analogkitchen, where the community is growing and we're going in the right direction. Also, if you enlist on the higher tiers on my Patreon page, it means you will automatically get sent into Discord, where everybody's talking about synthesizers. Everybody's sharing their music. Everybody's just like commenting on each other's music and showing pictures of their studios. It's amazing. It's really nice and fast growing community, and I'm very happy that you guys are supporting that. So that's patreon.com/analogkitchen. Links to the equipment noted in the fold below, which means that affiliate links will show up on the gear that I am using and the music. If you like it, there's some exclusive tunes on my Bandcamp as well. I guess that's that. I'm sure I forgot something, but if anything, I will catch you next week on another video. Peace.